Hello, good morning, and welcome to this Dawn Busters Taste Challenge. We have from 1968 the Northern Lights. A lot of glare. This is a white label. Still dark here on the 4th day of Christmas, 2019. Fifth day of Christmas. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. On the 5th day of Christmas, I did a taste challenge. The competitor from 1972 is Gibson's Finest. Yes, Gibson's was an American company from a long time ago, but then it moved to Canada during Prohibition. And the Gibson's Finest 12-year age, the rare, which is rare in Louisiana. I've only seen it at Savannah Discount. They had a special, these huge glass bottles, 1,750 milliliters, 12-year age, with a cork, a wooden cap stopper with a real cork. But $9.99, can you imagine that? $9.99 for this huge bottle. Is that the best price for liquor in North America? Probably. It would be $4.28 for a regular size bottle. $4.28. So will you ever find liquor cheaper than this? No. Unless it's on the black market or something, but that usually is priced up because people are using maybe illegal methods, whatever, to acquire hard to get things. So it's got the 2 deer, a beaver, the Canadian maple leaf, all the typical Canadian whiskey stuff on it. Bottled in Ontario, Canada. Nice embossed bottle. It says taste fully aged. I can't read this in the dark. We stay true to the time-honored method of making whiskey the right way by aging it. Canadian whiskey must be aged a minimum of 3 years by law. Gibson's Finest Rare is tastefully aged 12 years to provide a richer flavor than other Canadian whiskeys. We know you'll enjoy the difference. And some people in Canada said, golly gee, that stuff is $65 a bottle for a big bottle like this. So they paying $65 and I paid $9.99. Beautiful bottle. William Grant and Sons. That is who owns Gibson's today. Grants. You know, they make Scotch, famous Scotch whiskey. The Northern Lights, bottled by Baton Imports, Louisville, Kentucky. But, you know, Baton was bought out by Sazerac 10 years ago. So it's really Sazerac, as evidenced by the fact that you look it up you can send an email at thenorthernlights@sazerac.com. And they give you the Sazerac website, www.sazerac.com, which they won't even have this listed except in a product specification. There's no web page for it. It's a useless link. And the Gibson's website is worthless. Tells you nothing about the whiskey, so don't even wait. I put the link, but I mean, if you waste your time going to it, you'll see what I mean. You'll say there's nothing here, right? Ronnie S., good morning, kind sir. Good morning to you, Ronnie S. Metal Magic 1984 says, I just watched The Rise of Skywalker. Give us your review. I don't watch movies, so my review would be I'm not going to watch it. The first 3 Star Wars movies were good. I thought The Empire Strikes Back was the best one. I watched those next 3. They weren't good at all to me. They were boring as heck. I just don't like movies. So to me, talk about movies, I mean, there's probably 20 movies that were ever made that I like. I never watch them. I watch sports, fall asleep watching that. and I watch the news, but movies, no. He's reviewing liquor right now. Ronnie's saying he's reviewing liquor right now. Okay. The Gibson's is lighter, all right? It's gold, straight gold. The Northern Lights is amber, gold amber. Now, okay, just checking. Thanks, man. Oh, you're welcome. But there's probably a lot of people that would tell you about the movie. It'd be like asking me about video games. I don't play video games. I never liked them. And I remember when Pong first came out, people were all excited about Pong, the first video game. I just don't like games, really. I mean, I'll play Risk, but it's, to me, I watch sports, you know, football, basketball, baseball, but that's about it. And I like beer reviews, like watching beer and wine and liquor reviews. Got to check on my subscriptions later this morning and see what I've missed. And I'll make comments. And when people comment on my channel, I respond. Some people got an attitude, you know, they got a video channel, they don't respond to comments. It's like, oh, I'm too good for you. You know, you're just a lowly viewer. I am a great whiskey reviewer. I am a great beer reviewer. I don't have time for the little people. I just can't deal with those kind of people. I'll watch their videos still because I think they do a good job. What I'm saying is, I think they do a good job, so I'll see what they say. But as far as interacting on a personal level, I don't want to because they don't have time for the common people. And we're the common people, right? Yeah. Wood, oak, corn, some rye, maybe straight barley whiskey. Kind of harsh corn, really, in the nose, like you say a bad bite in your nose. Yes. I can even taste it on my tongue. I got an idea what that is. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Taste that on my tongue. You can taste whiskey on your tongue from just the fumes. Like that. And you breathe in, you can taste it. Oh yeah, you can. Okay, no, all right. So I think that's the Gibsons, and I think that's the Northern Lights. Now you would think the Gibsons would be the clear winner with 9 years longer aging, right? 9 more years. Well, we assume it's 9 because there's no age statement on the Northern Lights. But usually on these inexpensive Canadian whiskeys, when they don't put an age statement, that means it's the minimum 3 years. They got this leaf with like the Northern Lights on it. Look, the Northern Lights. When you turn it, it changes. Like, see what I mean? It's like shh. Now, but it could be aged longer than that. You would assume. Now it was $9.99. How you like that? $9.99 for the 750, and the other one was $9.99 for an extra 1,000 milliliters. Now the second bottle I bought of the Northern Lights was only $4.75 because they were closing it out on the small bottles. I mean, the regular size bottles class. Now Walmart is selling it, but only in the 1,750, the 1.75 liter bottles for $15.99. But I got it much cheaper, you see. All right. Good morning, Jay, says Jack Cottrell. Good morning, Jack. Welcome to the channel again. You see, to me, Gibson's is harsh. You say, smooth is not about smooth. I hear some whiskey reviewers say, smooth is what wimps want, you know. The common man wants smooth. The real whiskey, deep speculative whiskey fan, no, he wants character and harshness. Well, that might be what you want. I don't see where it's too enjoyable. It's got a bad bite to it, and it's like toothpick wood in your mouth. I mean, if you think that's good, go ahead and drink it. I mean, it's your opinion. So, but I don't think Gibson's is very good. I didn't think it was too good when I first reviewed it, and it's not gotten better. My opinion has gone down. My opinion of it has dropped. So I'm sorry, Canadian whiskey fans. I just don't see it being very nice. And I'm glad I only paid $9.99 for it. Now, my friend David, he bought the regular bottle, and he got a special too for $5. Not as cheap as mine, but he's almost done with his. He's down to this much. And I said, what? He said, oh, it's a really good whiskey. He says, it's kind of like bourbon in some ways. Well, yes, it is. Canadian whiskey is kind of like bourbon in many ways. But there's some key features that would not make it like bourbon. But I say it's somewhat like. I said, well, if you like it, I don't like it. You know, I don't like it. He does. Did we get in a big fight and argue and not be friends anymore? No. He just thinks I'm wrong and don't know what I'm talking about. And I think he's wrong and doesn't know what he's talking about. Like, as though that would indicate something, like, because you don't agree on how something tastes, right? Now, now this is the Northern Lights, very clearly. It's got that distinctive, Johnny Neely would say, almond extract. Then we realize it's probably white rum that they're flavoring it with. And Canadian whiskey generally or technically can only have 9.09% flavoring. Something like that. Like just short, it might be 9.9. I can't remember. Short of 10%. So it can have almost up to 10%, like over 9% flavoring. You say, what does that mean, flavoring? Like candy, sugar? No. The old regulations would, if you notice, the new regulations don't say anything. It just said flavorings. But the old one said it had to be wine, whatever kind of wine aged in small wood, meaning a barrel, a wine barrel, or it could be rum or brandy or bourbon or a combination of them or any sort of combination. So very creative, you see. Now that limit, that 9.9%, only applies to if importers are asking for a certification that it has that. But from what I've been reading, they never issue a certification because no one ever asked for a certificate. You know, no company like so-and-so imports writes to the Canadian company and says, I need a certificate stating clearly that not more than that government allowed amount is used. But no one ever asks because no one cares. So if they don't ask for a certificate, can they go above 9%? Yes. Yes. And I have a suspicion that they do, because this one tastes like it's got more than 9% or 9 point something short of 10% of flavorings. Like it might have more than that of rum or brandy or gin. Not gin. I don't think they use gin or wine. But what I mean is it's a little funny tasting, but good. Strange, but good. You see, something can be strange and good at the same time. Now, the Gibsons taste like straight old whiskey. You know, normal whiskey, a lot of wood because of that 12 years in a used barrel, probably a used bourbon barrel. It's a little sweet. It's a little bite. It's not maybe as bad as I'm saying. It's just, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't buy it again. That's just my opinion. But it just tastes like what you think of when you think of whiskey, like straight old whiskey. Doesn't taste like it has any flavorings aside from maybe some rye whiskey. And wheat. Maybe in some straight barley whiskey, you know, malt whiskey, but it's more standard. Now this one is a little more exotic, you see. You say, oh, well, that's just like a dessert whiskey. That's for the children that like sweet stuff. You got to have your candy, huh? You could say that, that I'm taking like a child's approach to it, and I want it to taste like Werther's original, those kind of candies, or Riesling kind of caramel candy type thing. Does have sort of a candy taste. I wouldn't necessarily argue with your accusation. If you accuse me of that, I wouldn't take issue with it and say you're wrong. You're wrong. I'm not going to defend that, but it still tastes nice. Now, neither one of these are in the top 20 selling whiskeys in America. They might be in the top 20 Canadian whiskeys. See, because there's different lists you can look up. Just like top 20 whiskey brands sold in America. Well, Seagram's VO would be in that. Canadian Limited is in there. Rich and Rare. But these two aren't listed. But in the top 20 Canadian whiskey sold in the USA, all from Canada, then these probably would be in the top 20, you see, because they're kind of known. Nevada has the best alcohol laws in the United States, says Urjo. Yeah, we probably have the second best. Louisiana probably has the second best. I'm not a big whiskey fan, but I enjoyed your review of Steel Reserve and Natty Ice, says Metal Magic 1984. Yeah, those were fun reviews to do, really. I've done multiple videos, given those attention. So we had there's been a wave of anti-Jewish, anti-Semitic attacks, right? In New Jersey and New York. I'm not Jewish. I'm Catholic. My second cousin is Jewish. And his mother is Jewish. Okay. Which would be my mother's first cousin's wife. But who I've known my whole life. But they you say, well, who's doing it? Well, the media won't say. They just say a group of men, a man. Like last night, a man charged into this Hasidic Jewish Hanukkah celebration, started chopping people with a machete, I think. So the police are looking for a man. Well, anytime you hear that, a group of youths attacked two people in the Bronx, then you got to read the clues. I mean, you got to have some awareness. The media is very cagey, and anytime they're cagey, they'll tip you off. Now, if it's certain ethnic groups or racial groups, they're going to clearly state who it is, like in the South Carolina attack or El Paso. That'll be the main feature. They're going to promote that to the hilt, because they try to twist the news, to make their own reality. It's not working because people have enough wisdom to read between the lines and decode. So you got to learn to decode the news. I wrote about that once. I even made a video about that, how to decode the news. So when you look at what's happening in New Jersey and New York, they'll say, like I said, a group of people, a man. Then another thing you can kind of like keep your eye on. Have you noticed in the last month a total lack of interest from Civil Rights Incorporated? No response. You say, why? Where are they? Look, they only respond to things they care about, right? And they have total indifference to like police being shot or Jewish people being beaten and stabbed or killed, shot. So you're not going to hear any angry sing-song speeches from some minister, oh, we are so angry about this terrible thing that's going on in this country. You're not going to hear anything like that. People don't usually talk about what they have no interest in. So this can always clue you in. So when you hear no response or interest from Civil Rights Incorporated, no marches, no angry speeches, no preacher with a wavy hair and a jogging suit doing a karate kick against a reporter, none of that, so then you know who it is. And hey, it is what it is. You have more childlike viewers and some fellow beer reviewers who have more of a child's mentality. And so they don't like to deal with weighty issues. If it's frivolous, they'll get into it like, oh, life is a party. Let's just talk about beer brands and, oh yeah, look how they changed the label, and oh, this beer's too bitter for me. This one's too fruity. But any kind of meaty or substantive issue they can't discuss. And if they do discuss it, it's a very childlike way, like they want to talk about founders early this year. And it was a very spoon and June approach, a very elementary approach. You know what I'm saying? Like no kind of thought or application of conceptuality. What I mean is, like they said, well, this man worked for founders. He got fired, and then he accused him of being racist. Naturally, he didn't accuse him before he got fired. So, and some of those beer reviewers, that meant automatically the company was racist. Now, here's a company that like spent their whole career virtue signaling. They got their rainbow flag out front. You know, they're like, oh, down with the liberal people, man. And I say it's kind of ironic and comical that they wanted to lay down with the animals and they got bit. See, because but that virtue signaling won't do you any good. You say, well, I was in a lion cage and they didn't see I had a t-shirt say, I love lions. No, they're going to rip you apart. You're not Daniel. So, but I wasn't a defender of founders because I could care less about founders except they make good beer. But I found it so comical and ironic. And so then they said, well, there's more proof. This obscure woman who worked for 9 months for founders quit because she said they didn't do enough for diversity or something. And it's like, well, she wasn't even there when the stuff happened. And who is she? That's one person. That's only her viewpoint. And then they interviewed this obscure people on the internet made it sound like it was the CEO of founders. Well, no, Momo. It was the manager of a tap room in Michigan, some 29-year-old person. And they said, he doesn't even know what race is. Wrong, no, wrong. Got to have some sense. Can't use a child's mentality. All he did was give evasive questions. Evasive answers to hostile questioning from a hostile prosecutor lawyer who was very obviously trying to set him up so he could accuse him of having a racist attitude. So all the man did was give evasive answers. And I talked to an attorney who read the transcript along with me and said, I'd have given those same exact answers. But then you got, you know, all the internet liberals running around saying, that's proof, that's proof. I'm like, no, it's not proof. And they were like, power to the people, right on, man. And they're going to fight the big battle. And then it comes out right before the trial, they settled out of court. I said, oh, what a letdown. Your hero, your power to the people hero took a pay settled out of court, which is what he was looking for all along, money. He wanted the yayo. And so you put all your hopes and dreams on this guy who was obviously, from my viewpoint, and the company said he had a horrible employment record. He was an incompetent, horrible employee who they were scared to fire because they knew if they fired him, he'd immediately start coming up with these all these lies, you know, about the company was racist. You know, well, why did they hire you in the first place? They hired you because they were racist. You see, people never think along those lines. So you were hired by a racist company who doesn't like you because of your race, but they hired you. If they were truly racist, they would never hire you, dumb. It's so comical. But anyway, I would discuss that with any of these guys at any time, but they would never do it. They would never come on the air and discuss it with me because they would lose, and they don't want to lose on air. You know, it's kind of embarrassing. Come on live and somebody's eating your lunch. And I don't get any pride out of that, or I don't brag about it, but it's just a fact. They got a sandwich, I'm taking it out the hand and I'm eating it. Egg salad and whatever. You know, they don't want to come at me with this stuff. And it's the same thing with these instances in New York. We all know the score. And what about crime? How do you deal with crime? By having good feelings and sentiment? Does sentimentality defeat crime? Or does following the patterns of crime defeat crime, right? A good crime fighter watches the patterns. Crime has patterns, you see. You say, oh no, if you talk about patterns, that makes you a somethingist. No, it makes you intelligent. Crime has patterns, and patterns mean things. Okay, so if you're going to fight crime with sentimentality, and then you'll lose. If you address crime and combat crime, see, we want to combat it in a ruthless manner, and we want to follow the patterns. Then we can win, and we're winning. You see. Now, going back to these comments. So natural light. Yeah. Okay. The Northern Lights is the clear winner, even though it's only aged 3 years as opposed to 12. I'm sorry, the aging didn't help. Yeah, there it is. NL, the Northern Lights. Haha. Too easy. It wasn't any kind of challenge, honestly. What is the differences between New Orleans and Baton Rouge? Well, a lot of differences. Because Baton Rouge is more Anglo-Saxon, meaning Americans that came from English-speaking states. So if you go to Baton Rouge, you got people with last names like Smith, Baker, Jones, Howard, Thompson. And then if you go to New Orleans, it's more of a Spanish and French background, a Latino background. So New Orleans has more of a Latino background. You say, well, French is not Latino. Some people think that because they don't know any. They're ignorant, you see. French is Latino because French is a Latin language. And I hear some people say, you don't look Latino. It's impossible to look Latino. Latino is not a race. It's a linguistic background, all right? But exactly, dude shook down founders. Yeah, and it worked. And then you get all these internet libs who run around, don't care about facts. And they actually said that the facts don't matter. The facts don't matter, right? It's easy to vilify a past moral spectrum many years after a present standard has been set. You're right. Who commits the vast majority of crime in New Orleans? The same people who commit the vast majority of crime in Baton Rouge and every other city in America. And every other city in America. If you take this pattern, let's talk about patterns, and you factor out a certain element, let's say we're going to, like it's a mathematical equation, you factor out that group, you would have virtually no crime in the United States. You think about that for a minute. The United States would have virtually no violent crime whatsoever. Now, that might hurt your feelings. You can take a towel and go home and cry in it if you want. But this is the reality. See, in this channel here deals with reality. And other channels can't handle that because they deal in sentimentality. We don't deal with sentimentality here. We deal with reality. And that's the reality. And if you can't handle it, tough. And we're going to take control, come hook or crook. Now you're going to deal with that. Think about that. Okay, thanks for watching this video production. And the Northern Lights is the winner.